Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel 100% Pure Elvis. Thank you all for returning to my channel to watch this new upload, and if you are new to my channel, thank you for joining and welcome aboard. So I am continuing my reviews of Elvis Presley studio albums from the 1970s, and I'm going to talk about the UK album chart position that the album reached, and if there was any singles off the album, what UK singles chart position they reached. So the album in question that I'm going to share with you all today was an album that was released in 1972, and the album in question is the album Elvis Now. And what a great image of Elvis there on the front cover, and again that is from 1972 as well, and got really glossy front cover. This is the original release from 1972 with a catalogue number of SF8266, SF8266. And here I absolutely love this rainbow design here with Elvis across the middle and Now, and on the back promoting the two vinyl box sets of the gold hits. So box set 1 and 2, and then obviously you got the track listing and the rainbow design on the back cover. I think is a great touch as well. So let me just talk you through the UK chart position of this album. So as I was saying, this was a 1972 release, and the album reached number 12 in the UK album charts and stayed in the UK album charts for 8 weeks. And he only had one hit single off this album that reached the UK singles charts, and that was the song Until It's Time For You To Go, and that reached a peak of number 5 in 1972. So let me talk you through the track listing on this album. So side 1, Help Me Make It Through the Night, Miracle of the Rosary, Hey Jude, Put Your Hand in the Hand, Until It's Time For You To Go. Side 2, We Can Make the Morning, Early Morning Rain, Sylvia, Fools Rush In Where Angels Fear to Tread, I Was Born About 10,000 Years Ago. Now, for me, I would absolutely have to go for We Can Make the Morning. Such a great song. Help Me Make It Through the Night, another great song. I love the single off this album, Until It's Time For You To Go. I'm not overly keen on... I'm not keen on Hey Jude, again, because I'm not overly keen on Beatles songs, and I just wish Elvis wouldn't have sung that song. But everything else on the album I really enjoy. And again, with it only having one hit single in the UK singles chart of this album, I think it did quite well to reach number 12 in the UK album charts. And you know, and I think it just goes to show, if you have a strong hit single off an album, I think it then pushes the album with extra sales. And with it still being the early 1970s, it was still relatively new for Elvis fans to see him live in concert. Say they would want to buy everything of Elvis. And over here in the UK, obviously because we didn't get to see Elvis live, we would have to travel over to the United States of America to see Elvis live. That's why we went out and purchased this album as well, to make it more successful in the UK album charts. And again, with the one hit single with Until It's Time For You To Go, I think we can make the morning. I mean, I think that should have been released as a single. I think that would have done quite well. But again, for an album that wasn't promoted that well at all, I think reaching number 12 in the UK album charts is just a great chart position for Elvis. So let's get back to the album itself. So again, if anyone's got any more information on the date and what suit Elvis is wearing there, I would really appreciate it. And does anyone know why RCA Victor used a rainbow design on the back. Is that specific to anything at all? I'm not overly too sure because again, very different from other Elvis albums that was around at the time. So what was the rainbow design all about? Let me get the vinyl out for you. Again, comes in its standard white sleeve, and let me zoom in there. It's the normal orange middle RCA Victor label, and again the vinyl itself, again, it's just in very good condition. I've said previously, when it comes to my vinyl, I always keep them in mint condition or at least very good condition. And when you take a vinyl out of its casing, always try your best not to touch the vinyl if you can. So yeah, I just such a great front cover image shot of Elvis there, and but I would just love any more information about this, the rainbow effect on the front and back. I mean, what was all that about? But for me, is now a favourite album of mine from the 1970s. Now, again, I might be quite controversial here. No, I would have to put it probably in the mid favourites of the 1970s. So it would probably be in the lower regions of my go-to albums from the 1970s. And I think that is possibly because of the songs on it. I mean, it's got great tracks on it, don't get me wrong, but again, there is more go-to albums for me from Elvis in the 1970s, especially studio albums. And I was saying previously on my channel, I am going to be doing other Elvis albums from the 70s as well. So ones that weren't studio albums, I'm going to do all of them as well. And then I'm going to go on to the 60s and 50s. And then I want to start talking more about the singles that were being released off these albums as well, and talk about, because we all know that in the United States of America, obviously, Elvis chart positions sometimes didn't perform as well as what they did in the UK and vice versa. And obviously, in the UK charts, back then we only had like the one singles chart and album chart, but in the US of A, you got multiple charts that Elvis could have charted on. But I get really intrigued at to see the differences in the chart positions across both sides of the pond, and again, where some singles performed so well in the UK but didn't perform that well in the US of A. I find that quite intriguing, and I wonder, well, why did it do so well in the UK but not in the US of A, or why did a single do so well in the US of A but not do so well in the UK? What's your thoughts behind that? I mean, I'm trying to think. There's one in particular that I feel, it's American Trilogy. It reached the top 10 in the UK singles chart, but in the United States of America, hardly touched the Billboard charts. And I wonder why. I mean, what's the reasons behind that? Because it's such a great song. There's many Elvis songs that I feel should have performed better across both sides of the pond. So again, please share your thoughts in the comments below. And obviously, going back to the Now album, for me, when you hear Elvis fans talk about Elvis albums throughout his career, whether it like 50s, 60s, 70s, and they talk about studio albums or soundtrack albums, I think Elvis Now very rarely gets spoken about. And again, I think it probably gets lost along the way. But again, it's got some great tracks on it. The only one I'm not overly keen on, Hey Jude, and that is probably it. Miracle of the Rosary. That's a personal favourite of my mum's. And again, you listen to the Now album and there's such a different eclectic mix of songs on there. So again, all I would say is, even though it reached number 12 in the UK album chart, stayed there for 8 weeks, he only had the one UK hit single off this album, Until It's Time for You to Go, which reached number 5 in the UK singles chart. And I think what would have happened to this album if that single wasn't released off it? I mean, it's a great song in its own right, Until It's Time for You to Go. So again, having a strong single behind it, and again, other people have commented on some of my other uploads and says, sometimes the album was released first before the single, and so then in the 70s when the album was purchased, Elvis fans then didn't feel the need to go out and buy the single as well. So again, I find that quite intriguing because, as you all know, an artist always releases a single first and they will release the follow-on album. And I always return back to my other theories on certain Elvis albums that didn't perform that well, or why did other albums do better. It's down to promotion, and I think that's down to RCA themselves, and I think it's down to Elvis himself as well. Again, promoting the album on stage. If you're not going to sing any songs off that album, that's fine. But I think Elvis, what he could have done more was say, he could have said to his fans that were in that audience, I've got a new album coming out soon titled Elvis Now, and again, his fans would have gone out and purchased it if they would have known, but Elvis didn't do much promotion. He just sang the songs that the fans wanted to hear, and that's fantastic. But I think it's just such a shame that Elvis coming back in front of a live audience in 1969 going into the 1970s. There's some great albums along the way, especially late 60s going into the early 1970s. The albums are out of this world. And then you got the latter albums from the 1970s that are more they just didn't perform as well. A bit more melancholy, with regards to people would say they're a bit more depressing, but still, some great albums even in the mid to late 70s from Elvis. There's a few choice songs on some of the latter albums that I just don't like, but no, I just wish that they would have performed better for Elvis throughout the 70s. So what's your thoughts on all of that? And anyway, look, thank you all for returning to my channel to watch this upload on my review of Elvis Now from 1972. And if you are sitting at home or wherever you are sitting and watching this channel, and you enjoy it, but as of yet haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and subscribe to my channel. It helps make my channel grow. And welcome to the 100% Pure Elvis family. And any questions you might have, please do not hesitate to ask me in the comments below. And as I always sign off by saying, please keep Elvis close to your heart. Please keep on playing his music. Really important to me. Love to you all. Speak soon, everybody. Bye-bye.